Good morning, and good morning. Okay, it is Wednesday of the week. It just seems like time keeps going by faster and faster. Something to do, places to be, and Wednesday. Seems like the week just started, but I'm hoping that your Wednesday is good. I wanted to wear these little glasses. I thought they were just so cute, and I cleaned them. And as I was cleaning them, well, here's what happened. Here's what happened was, so they are no longer any good. I will have to ditch them, but they were only $1. What? And this is when the dollar store was $1. Now it's $1.25. So the even inflation has hit the Dollar Tree, which says I'm not buying any more of them because they're just too cheap. So I do have some other ones. I keep glasses all over the house, and sometimes I think it's just a security thing. It's not even so much that I need them anymore since I had some surgery on my eyes, but it is what it is. Good morning, Rhoda. Good morning, Maurice. I'm telling you, I'm just having such a morning. It's a good morning. I want to ask you, what have you done since we last, intertwined here on Facebook, um, for yourself and for others? What have you done? Put a note in there. Let me hear you say something. Good morning, Calithia. How are you? What have you done since we last talked, um, or conversed this way anyway? For myself, I decided to do two things. I'm going to meet someone for lunch today that's leaving town, and I'm excited about that because she just an inspirational person, even though I didn't have as much contact with her as I would have liked to see, but she's got a new location, and so I'm happy for her. So I'm going to do something special just for her. Sometimes we have to take out the time to do something for somebody else. So that's my first act. But the other thing, for yesterday, I said I'm going to go to the pedicure, go get a pedicure, and I did, and it was absolutely wonderful. So I said I'm going to start treating myself to that once a month. I'm not big on going to the nail technicians and stuff. As you can see, I kind of keep my own nails up pretty good, but feet nails are different. My daughter calls them feet nails. She did when she was little. But your toenails are different, so I'm gonna do that. That's my pleasure. Good morning, Debbie. How are you, my friend? How are all of you all? Thank you so much for coming. Today I wanted to talk about a word that it's an interesting word to me. It's called NADIR. NADIR. Um, when I first looked it up, I wanted to spell it NADEAR, like my dear, because that was just, I had a friend here. That's what we called her, was my dear. And then I actually looked the word up, and it's NADIR, not NADEAR, which is, there it is. But it's spelled, it sounds something like what I would have spelled it like, but it is not. And, I think many of us, if we've lived long enough, we've been through something that says that we've met our nadir. We've been at our lowest. We understand what our deep dive is, whatever it is. It could have been divorce. It could have been, just trouble in relationships, period. Trouble at work. It could have been children, us and our offspring. It could have been, just so many things. Finances. It puts us sometimes at our low, and those lows are called our nadir, you know. And I didn't even realize that that's what it's called. I just, hey, look, trouble on board. I always, hey, Kiwanis, how are you, sweetie? Good to have you in your space. So, you don't really know that there's other words, that you could be describing a period or a place that you've encountered of happiness, of sadness, of joy, of whatever frustration is. We know what they are. And let me put on these glasses because I see y'all popping in some things. Well, I've had tons of nadars in my. You okay? Okay, you have in my life. That's right. That's right. Debbie, I'm with you. I have too. Good morning, Joan. So when we realize that we've been through some stuff, we can speak on what our stuff is. We don't have to go. We don't even have to ask questions of anybody else. We just know that we've been through some things. And that's life. We realize that there's going to be some happiness, there's going to be probably a period of sadness, because to me, anytime you lose something that you loved, cared for, believed a lot in, then that becomes something that could have a nadir about. And so here's what I found in terms of a poem out there. I always try to start out with something that kind of brings this thing together. And this is a poem by Emily Bronte or Bronte. And it's called Anticipation. Sometimes we don't anticipate that we're going to be in anything. Sometimes we anticipate that we're going to be in everything. And our disappointment or our nadir may be where we land. So anyway, it talks about how beautiful the earth is still. To thee, how full of happiness, how little fraught with real ill or unreal phantoms of distress. How spring can bring thee glory yet, and summer win thee to forget December's sullen time. Why dost thou hold the treasure fast of youth's delight when youth is past, and thou art near thy prime? When those who were thy own compeers, equals in fortune, and in years, have seen their morning melt in tears to clouded, smileless day. Blessed had they died untried and young, before their hearts went wandering wrong. Poor slaves, subdued by passion strong, a weak and helpless prey. Because I hoped while they enjoyed, and by fulfillment hope destroyed. As children hope with trustful breast, I waited bliss and cherished rest. A thoughtful spirit taught me soon that we must long till life be done. I thought this poem was just so poignant of the fact that there could be so much joy, so much, excitement, so much, wonder. And then all of a sudden we could be at our very lowest, our very lowest, period. We could be at our nadir. And it's just interesting to me that, someone can get in touch with themselves and write something that's so beautiful. Good morning, Miss Rosie. How are you? Well, look, I love you guys. I love y'all for coming. So let's get into the word this morning. But I'm going to ask you a little something. Have you ever been stuck on your nadir? Have you? Have you ever been stuck at wondering, how could I possibly be this low, feeling this bad about the trouble I have, the trouble I've seen, the things that I'm worried about that I can't fix? Remember, I'm always talking about don't look back. The idea of are you stuck says we are if we continue to stay there, but we have to figure out a way to get and go someplace else. So let's talk about nadir. The nadir is the lowest point in the fortunes of a person or organization. It's the lowest point, the all-time low, the lowest point we could ever be. It says it's the low water mark. It could be our bottom, as low as one can possibly get. It's the rock bottom, the depth, the zero in the pits. How many of us can say that we've been there? I can. I think if anyone's lost anybody, they can say that they know, they understand, and can acknowledge that level of nadir. But we don't stay there, thank goodness. We do not stay there. If we stayed at our nadir, we would be, constantly so, to me, isolated and worn out, just from what life has continued to, we think, giving us, instead of us trying to give something back to life. We just are always in our feelings, always in our hurts and our pains and our troubles. So I say, we sometimes realize that we must move on. We must get from being unstuck and realizing the importance of tomorrow. Today, will remember we did that on the value on Monday. We talked about that the value we have is what we continue to, find every day we get up. Every day we still must try as much as best we can to find value in our up, and not constantly dipping into our nadir. So my N I have this morning is for negative. I feel that if we're in the negative frame of mind, we understand the significance of nadir. Oh, I got some words here. It says, Angela says, when someone or something has broken your heart so deeply it appears it won't fix itself and weighs so heavily on you physically, emotionally, and mentally. Absolutely. Absolutely. We are not going to leave this world not being scarred, marked, kicked, tossed, driven, uploaded, downloaded, basically steamrolled over, period, by something somebody said to us or did to us, okay? Or the things that we get ourselves into. Sometimes it's not other people. Sometimes we've led ourselves down the path. We've led ourselves into our own, temporary, you hear me? Temporary demise. So it is what it is. Kiwanis writes, yes, I always took solace in speaking with elderly because they had the confident wisdom to reassure, to Charles, this too shall pass. Absolutely. I've always had, remember I talked about that a few weeks ago, about having a system that says that you want to, the young people, the people older than you, and the people your age, because that way they says that properly groomed, in terms of you have a nice cocoon of fellowship, of understanding, of wisdom. And I think there's young, not just the older have wisdom, the young has wisdom too. Sometimes the way that we used to think, they can pull up out of us and tell us, but this is also what you need to think about. You may need somebody that just thinks differently. But so we have numb, okay, and sometimes we are numb to certain things. Yes, Debbie. Joan says need. Ooh, how many of us have needed things that we cannot either have, because they've moved on, they've gone on, they've dissipated, they're no longer available. But we realize that need is there in the want that we have. The nonsense. Oh, that's good. Nausea. Okay, because sometimes we can get a little of that. Neglect. Nobility. Yes. How noble are we at sometimes being able to say that we came up from. Some people will never tell you what their past is because their past is still embarrassing to them. So, in some things, I got to be honest with you, they need to go with you to the grave. You don't need to bring them out. They are what they are, but they're between you and, for me, it's the man upstairs. But whatever you do, you do. Let's see. Neglect is great. That's a good, because sometimes we neglect ourselves in the process of trying to live, as well as neglecting others. Or we've been neglected. That's why we know we've been to our nadir, because people have neglected us, have left us to try to fend for ourselves the best way we can, and we don't do a good job at it. Some of us do not. It says a feeling of being naked. Ooh, stripped. Yes. Sometimes our nadir strips us naked, makes us where we feel like we have nothing else to put on, because everything that we have has been taken away. So we're stripped. Yes. Nuance is really good. That's a great word. How many of us stay in our own little nuances, our own little ideas of what we think are right? Not, and they may be right for how we're thinking, but wrong for how we're able to act it out or get it to a point where it becomes a positive thing. So I have negative. Negative says consisting of character and characterized by the absence of rather than the presence of distinguishing features, meaning you're pessimistic, bleak, gloomy, okay, fatalistic, obstructive, unenthusiastic, and basically cold. How many of us have been that way, negative? Once something has hit us, sometimes we can't turn around fast. Our turn may be hard to measure because we are so hurt. We are so down. We are so out of connecting or reconnecting because we've been destroyed with some things that we thought were truthful to us, but we can't turn it around quickly. So we may have a negative. When I move further on in the word, for my A of nadir, this is NADIR, it says all time low. How many of us have been to our all time low? Okay. We have. We've been struck by so many things that have taken us out emotionally. Just what Angela said, take us out emotionally, physically, mentally, psychologically. Some of us don't ever return, okay, because the blow was so hard. We've just been absolutely gone, absent, you know, present physically, but absent in terms of the ability to communicate. What you say alone? What you say, Joan? Come on now. Apathetic is good too. Assault. Sometimes we feel like we've been assaulted by other people. Come on now. We have. It may not be a physical assault, but it's an assault because we feel that we've been hurt, we've been injured emotionally. We can't handle what's happened to us. Alignment. How many of us try to align or realign to what we used to be? Sometimes we're not supposed to go back to what we used to be. Okay. And because I do believe in the higher up, I would say if I don't get back, then I wasn't supposed to go back. It's placed before me to alter. Sometimes we do have to alter ourselves, Debbie. When we find ourselves alone trying to alter because everybody else said, I don't know why she's doing that. I don't know why he's still here. We do what we think we can change. Let's be honest. And sometimes we even know in our heart, deep down, that we can't change anything, but don't we still stay there? Don't we still try to stay in marriages that aren't working? Stay in relationships that really were defunct years ago? We do. We are a people of endurance. Excuse me. And sometimes the endurance isn't a positive for us, in that respect, because we're still not being fed the things we need. And so we're still going through our nadir. Good morning, Erica. How are you? Good to see you in the space. Today our word is nadir, which means being at our lowest point in life. And some of us have been there. The point is that we don't want to stay, but sometimes it's hard for us to get up out of where we've been, where we've gone to, where we've been, where we've gone to, where we remain. Why? Because it's comfortable. Let's be honest. Some people stay in if I'm pitiful, then if I stay in my pity, people will have pity until they're fed up with your pitiful self. Let's face it. When we do that, come on now. Arrogant. Okay, that's good. Sometimes we need to be that, but it's hard for us to get there. Accuse. Yeah, because, let's face it, we can accuse other people for how we got to our lowest, our deepest, our sunken, awareness. And some of us are sunken. We're not even aware. We're not even realizing that we're down that far, but we are. But I put all time low. All time low says it's the high, the low, the best, the et cetera, et cetera. It's the highest of the high, the lowest of the low, the best level that has ever been. So that means in order for us to be the lowest of our thinking and believing and behaving, that means at some point we felt we were at a high point. So when we get the all-time low, we know what it is because we hadn't been there before, or it's comfortable enough where we can get there and understand it to be, we'll stay for a minute, maybe a year, maybe two. maybe just a month, maybe a day. Acknowledge. That's good. Sometimes we do need to acknowledge where we've been and where we're going. How we're going to get there. Who's coming with us? And I'm going to tell you, sometimes when you're at your low, you're the only one there because it's yours. They don't feel the same way you do. They may feel some of it. They may not feel all of what you're feeling. And so it's understood that that's how it runs. That's how it behaves for you. So it says, when we're at our all-time low, we are at our rock bottom. Rock bottom, the bottom, lowest level ever. And it's your record low, my record low, nobody else's. You know, that's why sometimes when you're talking to people and they tell you such things as, say they're asking you, well, how are you doing since you lost such and such? And you say, well, it just makes me cry. I'm depressed. I can't do anything about this. The abyss. That's really good, Eric. Come on now. Sometimes we are in our own abyss. And they'll say, well, it's all going to be better by and by. Get over it. They'll tell you stuff like that. Okay. But they don't realize that just the words you're saying, they've already disconnected, okay, from what people had said, because you weren't the first person that probably said something of they thought support and where they're at. Sometimes people have to get over where they're at in order to come up from where they are. They have to get there. It can't just be done based on the fact that you said it to them. They will say things to you and you say, okay, and like a lot of times people say they're in a better place. And I've had some people feel that was just absolutely a low blow when they say they're in a better place. Why? Because they think the better place was still here with them. And so they're not where you're at, and your ability to say that to them is just your ability. It's not how they feel about it. It's not where that will bring them out, and over time I've learned that. I didn't know it at first, because I'd heard it and heard my mother say it, heard grandmother say it, heard church members say it. So I thought it was cool. But when you see somebody react to it as a negative and tell you things like, I don't know why they said that to me. They're not in a better place. The better place is that they're still here. That's the better place. Well, see, that's their emotional edging. That's where they're at. You can't budge people off of where they are, even though that's where they are. Now, even as a counselor, you have to let people air, and you say, well, what I hear you saying versus, well, so you mean this? No, you have to ask them what they mean by it. Ask them. Don't assume. Don't assume. Each footprint is different. Absolutely, Joan. Each footprint is different. Afraid, because I do that. I do feel that when we've gone to our abyss or we've gone to our nadir, we do have fear. We do have fear. We have fear for what we've lost. We have fear for how we're going to maneuver going forward, how we're going to do it, who's going to go with us. That person that we were with is gone, so or the situation has changed. The project is over. The job is gone away. Whatever it is, that's where we come up with. Good morning, Ardelia. How are you? Today our word is nadir, which means someone who has probably reached their lowest point in whatever it is that they're facing. It could be that a death or a divorce, a job loss, whatever, children, whatever. That's what a nadir is. So when I move on talking about this word nadir, I'm on my D, and the D says the depths that we may go through. How many of us can really get in touch with the depths of the things that just brought us down? I mean, to our knees where we're praying, or to our therapist, or to a best friend, to our parents if they're still here, to somebody, to a best friend. We are really at our depths, our lowest. There's depression. Did somebody write that? Yes, Debbie. Depression. Devastating. We become devastated by what took place. Devastated. And when we're devastated, we can hardly move. We don't know how to look forward to what we need to face, because what we're facing is too hard to face. We can't do it. Discovery, that's when we learn about ourselves. When we detangle, that means we've laid out all the things. And sometimes when we laid out the things, it makes it too difficult. That's why we remain in our nadir, because it's too, you start naming things left and right, and it's like, oh my God, too much. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do this alone. And people don't know what you need if you can't tell them. And sometimes we can't even bring ourselves to tell people all the things that are wrong. We can't. We become distraught, deferment, yes, all of that. Destitute, all of those words describe our nadir. And all of us have had a nadir, period. It could be a short one, but it could be lengthy. I know some people who lost their mother, father 20 years ago. They're still in their nadir about it. Still brings them to tears. Still brings them to where they become speechless, sullen, just absolutely depressed. So how do you get to those things and get through those things? It's hard. And so, when we're at our depths, it says it's the distance from the top or the surface or the bottom of something. So the depths, meaning we're going all the way down from where we could have been or were, all the way down to where we cannot either sometimes function. We're at our depths. It says we're at our deepness, our distance from going where we were to our downward thrust. It says it's a distance going inward, a distance from the outside, and it is a total vertical drop, meaning some of us drop to the bottom, destitute, yes. We cannot move. We cannot move. We have absolutely been stilled in our ability to find our own peace, to find our own happiness, to find our own comfort. We cannot do it, And I always worried about people who remained in those positions of their nadir, and they remained in that depressive state. What happens? For some people, we know the ultimate happens where they end it all. For others, it may be that they finally are able to talk it through, physically work it out, moving more and starting to regenerate, their limbs and their minds and their heart to saying, we cannot change our past. We cannot change what is passed on us. We can't. We might like to, make love to, but it cannot be done. So when I move on in the word, it says, I can absolutely relate to that. In 18 days, it will be 20 years ago that my dad transitioned, and it feels like yesterday. Absolutely. My mother too. But I'm able to keep her alive in my discussions, because even when I'm talking with you all, I will say, and my mother, because I don't feel that there's anything but wisdom in what she left behind with me, and love she left behind with me, and care and joy, because my mother would make you laugh even if you didn't intend to, because she was a cussing woman. And I always laugh at that, because I'm not a big cusser. Every once in a while I let one out, but it's not like it's my way of talking. But I agree with you, Erica. We can certainly get in that frame of mind, that understanding, that to impair is really a good word. For my eye, I have individual. I believe our nadirs are individualized. They are our own. Nobody else is in the same. Even if you both experienced some of what happened, with whatever took place, the death, the job dismissal, whatever took place, it doesn't matter, because collectively you may have something to discuss, but individually, how you feel about it What makes it that you can get out of or stay into your nadir. That's it. The ill is good. Impair, ill, um, intricate. Yeah, sometimes we do have intricate details of things that it definitely makes it more individualized and personalized if it's got intricate things going on. But individual talks about it being tailored or suited in a particular way for individuals, be them single or separate. They are what they are. And of course, an individual is going to be how it makes them feel as them being the sole person that is dealing with this issue of lone. I am the lone person that is dealing with this. Or even if they're one of many, they're still dealing with individually how they are managing what took place and managing how they move forward if they can if they can. Um, it also talks about when a person is dealing with their nadir, they also may be dealing in solitary. They're isolated. No one else is with them. No one else is understanding what they're going through because they haven't shared it. So if you know of people, and maybe you can't get into what was said to them or what happened to them, letting them know that you're there whenever they're able to come out and talk, come out and move, come out and be a lot more, what I would say, happy and content about looking forward, show that you're nearby. So being in, let's see what else we have. Introverted, because a lot of people are introverted. I absolutely believe that. And things happen to them makes them more introverted. They even get more involved in nothing. It's their own ness. NESS. It's their own, or excuse me, NEST. They remain in their own empty, but lonely, but comforting to them nest. Let's see. Joan had that. Let's see. Introverted. Incomplete. Rhoda, that's good. Incomplete. Sometimes we are incomplete. And realizing that we may always be incomplete. We may have somebody that we love, absolutely love, love, love. However, they're wherever, you're wherever, or they moved on, they transitioned, you still will love them. It is what it is. And we will always remain incomplete in that respect, but still consistently on the fact that we loved, or consistently on the fact that we cared. That remained with us too. Inferior. Sometimes we are inferior in terms of the things that we're dealing with. And I think I'm trying to interval, going in and out. Okay, now that's good right there, Ardelia, because sometimes we do go in and out of stuff. Sometimes we are there, we are present, and all of a sudden, something else diverts our attention, we're out of it. But then we get back to our little nest again, and we can get right back into our nadir, right back into it. As soon as we go in the house and close the door, we can get back into where we left off. The loneliness, the thinking that what else could I have done to save them, and what else could I have done to keep the relationship going? Well, sometimes there's nothing that else can be said with that, but the intervals that we go through are just what you say. They're going in and out. Absolutely. My R, as I move on in the word, my R of nadir is the real. What is real to us? See, I think a lot of times we can sit around in our head and we can conjure up some stuff. As I told you last week when I went to the week before last, when I went to the doctor and I told her I had diabetes. Well, the proof was in the lab work. The lab work came back and said, no, you do not. You don't have nothing. But sometimes we can get ourselves that mindset to believe that something's wrong. We can't we can't change things, but they happen to us. We can't order things to be different, They're not. The order is going to come as it's supposed to. And that's our reality, as Joan is saying. With some people remain as the recluse, as somebody else has said, and then we recover. We recover. That's a good one right there. Recovery. Reality into recovery. You know, resort. Sometimes we have to resort to new ways of understanding that life has changed. You know, I always think about, all of the wonderful musicians and authors and, poets and, you know, just great leaders that moved on. They transitioned. And the loss we feel is the presence that they made. That's what we feel. The loss is felt during the presence that they made while we were here. And so we long for their presence. We long for what it is that they did. So for us to say that it's gone, it's hard. But the fact is that they left their essence. They left what it was that made you smile, that made your heart happy, that made you, love, that made you care, that made you trusted. Those are the things that make it special. Those are the things. Listen, I just want to say the real says actually existing as a thing or occurring in fact. That's real. Not imagined or supposed. It's real. It's actual. It is non-fictional. It is existent. It is real. It could be historical. It could be material. It could be physical. It could be tangible. And then it certainly can be concrete. So sometimes when we look at our nadir, we need to ask ourselves those questions. How real are we to make it individualized, that we understand the importance of looking at the depths of where we've taken this thing to? Is it our all-time low? How do we get out of it? And how do we not be negative about where we are? The NADIR is only a temporary if we allow it to be. It will become something that is entombed if we also allow that. But let's research, rise, reset, reflect, recover, resort, recluse. All y'all be working with me. I thank you. This is a fun opportunity for us to explore not only new words, but also our feelings and our ability to laugh a little bit at ourselves, and then understand that troubles don't last always. Not my saying, but troubles, it says it, will not last always. So listen, I'm going to see you Friday with another word. This is from my new, I have a new section of words that I'm dealing with. So I'm trying them out and seeing how we can do and add some more texture to who we are. But I love you guys. I appreciate everything that you do. If you don't do anything else, you don't have to send me any money. No. Just hit share. That will be well appreciated. Or just go to the link, hit share, and listen. Listen, more people are coming. I just believe it. I believe it in my heart that they're coming. And I'm not going down to my nadir, if they don't. The few is just as many as the many, because the word is getting out. Thank you so much. I love you. See you soon. Have a great day. Do something nadir like that says it was just a minute and I'm over it. Thanks. Bye-bye.